NNPP faction differs on alliance move away from we go to the Daily Trust headlines, still in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is talking about the death of the former president Muhammadu Buhari, that says 1942 to 2025, end of an era, with the recent president Tinubu writing saying that late President Muhammadu Buhari stood the test of time, leading with quite strength, profound integrity, unstoppable belief in Nigeria's potential. While this other copy of the Punch is telling us that Tinubu ex-leader's government gathers today for Buhari's burial in Doha today, says that ex-president died in London hospital at 82. From Nigeria, we cross over to neighboring Cameroon, ladies and gentlemen, with the Herald Tribune that carries as headline today's publication of the newspaper, I beg your pardon, carries as major caption 2025 presidential elections. President Paul Biya breaks silence as he declares candidacy. The Herald Tribune on its own captions, October 12 presidential, time for Cameroonians to vote wisely. The report says that the October 12, 2025 presidential elections in Cameroon present a pivotal opportunity for citizens to, re-change the country's political landscape, adding that for too long the country has endured leadership characterized by stagnation, corruption, and ineffectiveness. From Herald Tribune, we move over to municipal update, still in the Republic of Cameroon, that captions 2025 presidential elections, Biya accepts the people's call. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we saw it today on our newspaper roundup. Up next is going to be our analysis with our guest just after the transition. Ladies and gentlemen, you are live on Pan-African Media TV, and the program on air is Well in Print with me, FRIDA EGBESON. If you are in the office and you can't concentrate on your TV set, you should recall that you can follow us live on Creoline, Bouquet Creoline Canal 299. Or you follow us on our social media handles on Facebook at Pan-African Media TV. You follow us on YouTube. And of course, right away is our guest has just joined us this morning. SYLVANUS, you're welcome.
Thank you, Madam EGBESON, for inviting me here this morning. It's always a pleasure to be on set to analyze newspaper headlines, especially on the global scale, and also with what's happening in Cameroon. Let me use this opportunity to salute your televiewers, those who are faithful to this program that is always broadcast on Mondays and Fridays.
So how have you been? How was the weekend?
The weekend has been a very busy one, characterized with with a lot of ink that has flown, and also a lot of saliva too that has flown concerning the upcoming presidential elections. You know, after President Paul Biya convened the elections on the 11th for the 12th of October 2025, many persons have been wondering if actually it's President Paul Biya that signed the decree convening the elections, or somebody did it for him, because it's pretty long. We've not seen President Paul Biya on any public outing except of the 20th May, which he came to the 20th May Boulevard, and we did not see him very physically active as he used to be in the past.
All right, we want to say that, ladies and gentlemen, Sir SYLVANUS is a media personality. He is a jurist, and of course, he is the personal advisor to the president of the CRM party, Professor Maurice Kamto. We are delighted to have you again once more, taking time from your busy schedule to make it to the scene of well in print. Okay, I want us to start with Nigeria. The death of President Muhammadu Buhari came as, you know, I saw him in a video sometimes back. He was dancing and he was like full of life, and all of a sudden you hear he died. When I saw it, I thought it was a lie until Nigerian newspapers carried the story. If you want to look as a politician that you are, you want to do a throwback to his turn when he was president in Nigeria, what assessments, little assessments from the point of view of a Cameroonian observer, a media observer, that you can give to the former president of Nigeria, late Muhammadu Buhari?
91 years old Buhari died a fulfilled life as a human being that is born into this world, because it's rare to have people in this world that attain that his age, even in the developed world where life expectancy is very high. We want to say it's evidence of the fact that he had enormous grace of God upon his life. And if we were to judge him on his passage in power as the president of Nigeria, looking at the bilateral relationship that exists between Nigeria and Cameroon during his tenure of office, we saw that he collaborated with Cameroon, especially toward the fight against Boko Haram insurgencies in the northern regions, and it also during his stay in power that we saw him work so hard, especially toward the fight against corruption in Nigeria, and that is exactly what most African leaders ought to do or emulate. So I think Nigerians would give him a befitting burial, because he didn't just leave them without setting a legal and a pedagogic pace for them to follow. They understand that whosoever that are sent to the supreme magistracy of the country has to serve for the interests of the nation. He has also to ensure that he collaborates with the legal system, let them work independently in order to ensure that the people of the nations are held accountable for the crimes which they commit, or people who seek justice have equitable justice granted unto them. So we want to say kudos to President Muhammadu Buhari, and we believe that he will be resting in peace.
All right, may his soul rest in perfect peace. So I want us to visit the United Kingdom, where they are talking of, the I newspaper is talking about the upsurge of measles. The medical personnel are warning. You know, they're on holidays, and during holidays, in the European world or developed world, it's a routine for parents to travel with their children to go visit other countries, like some kind of time for tourism and picnics and all what. The medics are warning about an upsurge of measles, because apparently one child is dead already from measles. If you think, there's a place where people can preview things. If you want to compare it with our own scenario, do we have the opportunities that medics can predict something that people can prevent before it happens?
I want to say we are living in a global age where technology is well advanced, medical technology is well advanced, and I think as the primary beneficiaries of the advanced technology in medicine, the European world have the facilities, enormous facilities to warn their citizens and prevent them from being affected or infected by certain diseases. When you want to look at Africa, you find that Africa is really lacking behind, because our leaders who are in place don't want to put in more money into research work and also into invention. You find that most of African leaders, even when they are sick, they are not treated in their hospitals. They run overseas and they are treated in foreign countries. So that leaves the African continent, and especially the downtrodden, those who are at break-evens, helpless. So
the common man
helpless. We want to appreciate the British government for that, and I think that it's the legitimate duty of the legitimate and legal duty of the state and the health personnel to warn their citizens against pandemic, because don't forget, measles is a very dangerous pandemic that can be so widespread, and then to tell other nationals of different countries that when you are coming to UK, make sure that you get the vaccine, because you might be coming into a country where there is a potential threat. So I think it's but honest for them to do that.
All right, so I want us to go. We talk Africa this morning. We'll start still with Nigeria. With the Punch newspaper, I want to look at the opposition and the coalition. You see, they're talking about potential as people are fighting for Kanu. Apparently, Kanu has been a potential zone for government to pick up their votes. And now I want to bring it to stand like simultaneous with our own opposition here. You know, in Nigeria, elections are in 2027, but it's like campaigns are already going on because people are doing one or two. But here with us in Cameroon, it's like we start rushing after these things. They become vocal. We hear so much about them when the elections is at our doorsteps.
The difference between Nigerians' democracy and that of Cameroon is that Nigerians, the elections are in two phases. You see, contrary to Cameroon, that is just a single-way election, and most often in Nigeria, you see that they go through the primaries and all the like, and with the primaries, there is bound to be that euphoria that characterizes the election. So that will obviously and always push them to begin to strategize and implant themselves in zones which they believe that they are highly, they have high density, especially with regards to registration on the electoral list. So I think that the mere fact that they are clamoring for voters' interest and love in Kano is an indicator that the belief that the people they are open-minded electorate, because in a zone where people have a stereotype mentality, they vote not because of the programs that the political leaders have to offer, but because of maybe ethnic and tribal affinities. It will be very difficult to think that you need to penetrate into such a zone and win the hearts of the people. So it's an indicator that Kano has people that can rally behind political leaders based on their manifestos, based on their strides, based on their achievements, and based on their intellect. So rather than basing on their lineage and all the like. So we want to say Nigeria is demonstrating a high level of integrity in terms of democracy, which ought to be emulated by other African countries. Coming back to Cameroon, we are in 2025. We all know that it's been a popular call from the population that opposition leaders should form a coalition and ensure that they reduce the confusion that reigns in the air, especially with regards to the voting that will be taking place in 2025. We are optimistic that there would be a coalition, because coalitions have already been going on. Because if you take that of the candidate of the CRM, Professor Maurice Kamto, that we're going in for 2025 presidential elections, you will find that he is being backed up by a political alliance, which they call the APC, the Alliance of Political Change. Of recent, we saw one important personality that was the director of campaign for the fallen hero, Nijon Fundi, who was the former chairman of the SDF, Mr. Emelu Mbialu, who just threw his support to the CRM, joining to other political parties like the FCC of Honorable Jean-Michel Nietzsche and a good host of civil society organizations and trade unions that have decided to be behind Professor Kamto. So I think that coalition is a very important thing, especially for the opposition that wants to unseat the incumbent, especially in a dwindling political landscape.
As Cameroon. Okay, we are moving to Cameroon with the newspaper. Let's start. Most of the news in Cameroon is characterized by the announcement by President Paul Biya of his candidature to run for the 2025 presidential elections. Now, I want you to look at it from the point of view of a Cameroonian youth, because many people have reacted. Some people feel it's like some kind of deception. Some people are like, this is not supposed to happen. How do you look at the president, 92-year-old, almost 93, still wanting to stand as a candidate for upcoming elections for a country that we say should be emerging by 2035?
Madam EGBESON, you would bear in mind with me that to run a country, it's not just a single person, it's a whole system that is put in place. If you go to a neighboring country like Equatorial Guinea, you find that the president of Equatorial Guinea, Obiangema Mbazogwa, has been there for almost 4 decades. 4 decades years, just like President Paul Biya. And there would never be a popular cry by the youth in Equatorial Guinea for him to leave power, because he has been there serving for the interests of the people. And then when you look at countries like the United States of America, you find that Donald Trump is already in his 70s and above. You go to China, you find that there is a President Xi Jinping, is 71. You go to Russia, you have the president of Russia that is in his 70-somethings. So the question with President Paul Biya that his age is already too advanced, because if you look at a president at the age of 92, we have seen him on most public outings. It's very difficult for him to even support his physical posture. Sometimes you see him walk, and then you will find Shatabia, who is the wife, closer to him to indicate to him with gestures what he has to do and all the like. And then he would begin to make people doubt of his mental capacity to run the nation. So the youth of Cameroon are disgruntled, not simply because Paul Biya is an old man, but because the age is too advanced, and then others have lost confidence in the CPDM government simply because the CPDM government has been unable to realize most of the promises which it has always made for in favor of the youth. Now let us look at the northern regions. You find that in northern regions, President Paul Biya promised that he was going to construct, I think, about 43 boreholes, and up to date, the 43 boreholes are not operational. So you find that it is not his age that is a problem, so much the youth. It is the mere fact that he has not even realized anything meaningful during his 4th tenure of office. So what more at this particular juncture that we find that since 2018, President Paul Biya has been delegating his signature, and most of his public presence, especially in terms of decrease or any other thing that have been signed, you find that many people are questioning the authenticity of it. So we cannot entrust a country to a president that will be running the country, and we are doubting who actually is running the country, because at least there should be confidence in who is running the affairs of the nation, because the president of the country benefits the confidence of the entire people through a universal suffrage that is accorded him, and that is through an absolute universal suffrage. Delegation of signature to the minister, the secretary general at the presidency, who is practically running the affairs of the nation, is a kind of usurpation which the Cameroon people would not want to continue bearing it any longer, because we know the cacophony that is characterizing such a delegation of signature. So that's why you see that many youths have gotten their voters card in 2025. They are willing to go into the polls and said, no, we cannot support a non-Nigerian, somebody who is almost in his 90, to continue running the affairs of the nation through procuration, offering his signatures, other persons to do so. If the Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, the First Lady Shatabia wanted to run, because both of them are militants of the CPDM, they would have just been bold enough to put in their candidatures, rather than telling us that this 92 years old President Paul Biya, that is so old and unable even to carry his own personal body, that will be running the affairs of the nation for the next 7 years, that if it happens, will be letting him leave power or go in for another mandate at the age of 99. I think it's a life from the pit of hell, and the enlightened Cameroonians, the youth whom we are, cannot fold our arms during these upcoming presidential elections to see that things go worse, because we will be talking about mortgaging our own future and the future of our children.
All right, so if it were to be like the CPDM had chosen a younger militant from the party to represent the party for the upcoming October 12 presidential elections, it isn't going to be any problem for the Cameroonian youth, because some people are just angry that the regime has been in place for too long and the Cameroonians have been living monotony.
Madam Ebe, it would, if the CPDM were to get a youth, it's not going to be something which would mean that they automatically have the favor of the youth to run the system, because I told that it's a whole system. The system that has been in place since 1982, which has been installed by President Paul Biya, if another youth from the CPDM takes over, they are going to run the country using that same system of government, which is a system, it's a predatorship system. Don't forget, many people are of the opinion that there is a government within the government. Sometimes when budget is voted for the running of the state, you find that there is a similar budget that is behind, and then some people benefit from that budget, and most often the projects which are to be realized are even dumped, monies embezzled, and then the judicial system is unable to hold these people accountable because of the heavy arm of the executive on it. We want a new and a neutral person from the opposition, no matter his age, who has proven that he is morally upright, has the strength, the vigor to run the country forward, to take it, and not the CPDM regime. We of the CRM had been saying, whether it's President Paul Biya that is candidate for the 2025 presidential election or any other youth from the CPDM, we are quite sure that they will lose face to us as it did in 2018. Don't forget, we still keep on contesting the result of 2018 presidential election. That's why there was an electoral hold-up, which led to the arrest of Professor Maurice Kamto. Some of us, I was at the Konenge Center prison where we spent almost 2 years there. We still keep calling Professor Maurice Kamto president-elect unless it is proven otherwise, because we asked the recount of the ballot.
All right, so now, thank you. Municipal Update is saying this morning, 2025 presidential election, Bia accepts the people's score. Is this score really the people's score?
Madam Ebe, it is ridiculous to think that the people have been calling. I watched a video in which the Minister of Territorial Administration was speaking and saying that the people of the Northwest region have vowed to give him 100%, and I asked who delegated him to be talking on behalf of the people of the Northwest region. He is not the president of the chief council, he's not the president of the youth movement or the president of any, but it's a militant of a single political party. We're saying the people of the Northwest have thrown their support, their unwavering support behind President Paul Biya. This is always the mental quackery, I will call it, which is always been exercised, and they have always used it as a calculated ploy, maybe to cajole and lure the people to think that there is an overwhelming support for President Paul Biya's candidature during a presidential election. Unfortunately for them, this strategy is not working anymore, and it will not even work in 2025, because we know there are three personalities who are behind President Paul Biya's reappearance again in 2025, vying for another mandate, whom I told you earlier that if the Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic wants to run for himself, he would have better done so, because he's a militant of the CBDN. If Chantal Biya, who is the wife of the President of the Republic, wanted to run for the election, she would have done so, rather than using President Paul Biya as a mascot to canvass for the votes of the people, if at all they have ever voted for him, and then finally to abandon everything in their hands, and they begin to run the affairs of the whole nation as if it was their kitchen they are running. So I think this is a scam, and this such a scam the people's call is new and void ab initio in 2025.
3 months to presidential elections. How is opposition faring? How mobilized are we getting to be able to stand President Biya? Because in Cameroon, we are used to history repeating itself. So this time, what is being done different by the Cameroonian opposition?
The very first thing that is done different in 2025 is the fact that you find that the youths have been brought on deck by the opposition. The CRM has been doing a pedagogic job since 2018 in educating the youth on the fact that they have to vote, they have to watch over their vote, and they have to ensure that they protect the vote in case that the votes have been rigged. So the CRM political party is doing everything possible to ensure that they have representatives in police stations all across the 10 regions of the national territory of Cameroon. Now, talking of the opposition, our candidate, who is being invested by the Political Alliance for Change, is working day and night to see how he can collaborate with other political parties to be part of the Alliance for Political Change. We know the charisma of the candidate in place, and we think that similar political parties would have to understand that it's a moment they need to let die the crab-like mentality, the crabology that exists, that you see a leader that is capable of federating other persons to bring them out from the basket, from the pit, but then you see some other persons are struggling to pull his legs down simply because they are jealous, or maybe because they have alternative means of aligning the system in place just because they want to benefit their pockets and enrich their immediate family. That's not what the opposition, which are incarnate of the CRM, that is willing to do. But we believe that the Cameroon opposition is mature enough, and we are expecting that after the validation of candidatures for the 2025 presidential elections, a lot will still have to be done, and we are optimistic that those who are working for the interests of Cameroon will understand that they can rally behind a popular candidate that has proven his worth and that is quite open, is patriotic, to ensure that they mobilize their effort to unseat the system in place, because we are not going to unseat President Paul Biya. I've told that President Paul Biya is old enough. We are even doubting if he really knows that his candidature has been deposited for him to run the 2025 presidential elections. It is a whole system we are fighting against now, and not a single person. So opposition is quite aware of that.
All right. You know, we're still talking politics in Cameroon. I want to look at the view of registration. Maybe in a few days, has registration, Lekam ended registration. Have you? there are some youth that still complain about the issue of ID. They say IDs, the price of ID has been extended. I mean, it's about 15,000 francs now. There are some people who still do not have ID cards and cannot even register. How much are you doing to sensitize the youth on how to go about to see that at all costs we succeed to register in elections and make sure that register in the electors, register and ensure that you vote?
Madam Ebe, it's practically impossible for the youth to register at this particular juncture because the law says after the president has convened the electorate, the youth will no longer register. So what I would advise those who have already registered to do is to ensure that they verify their entries on the website of the ELECAM. It's regrettable because the CRN had called the Director General of Elections Cameroon, MUTAGHA, to ensure that he respect the law. Article 80, subparagraph 2 says that by the end of every year, that's on the 31st of December, the are supposed to publish the national list which contains the names of all registered potential voters, which has not been done. The Director General of Elections Cameroon has decided to trample upon that portion of the electoral code, and this is regrettable. It might lead to the questioning of the credibility of the electoral body in organizing elections in 2025. So another thing that is so regrettable is the fact that even with the online process of verification of your entries to see if you are effectively registered, you will find that if you verify your name in the morning, the system will tell you are registered, and in the evening, if you want to recheck it, you find that the system tells you that there are no entries that correspond to this. So it is regrettable. We want that, and we wish, it is my plea to the bodies that be, the authorities that be, to ensure that the system is efficable. What do they need to do? They need to bring in political stakeholders who can lend them their intelligence and collaborate with them to ensure that they make the system more credible. So the Bayam Selam, the motor taxi, the Benz Canals, what they have to do is to ensure that within the period of 90 days, they have their voters card with them. Expecting that ELECAM will print those cards, because I have a motorbike rider that I boarded his bike the other day. He told me that he went to the ELECAM office to ask for his card, and they told him that the card is unavailable, that he should only come by the end of the year. Nice. What end of the year?
How
because
do he vote?
Elections are going to be held in
October,
and you're telling somebody to come at the end of the year to get his voter's card, meaning that you are indirectly telling him you will not vote. So we think that the international community, especially the United Nations that has decided to sign a pact with the ELECAM, should be more proactive and preemptive to ensure that we are at the end of the tunnel. Cameroonians are not willing to be plunged into the abyss of despair any longer. In 2025, they know that this is the final bus stop, which the Bias regime must be ready to collaborate and ensure that the elections are hitch-free. They should be transparent. Whosoever that wins in a transparent election, even if it is 92 years old beer that wins in a transparent election, I'm sure we of the CRM and other political parties will be ready to concede the defeat. But if the elections are not transparent, especially the way we are seeing things, I'm very afraid that the aftermath of it might be chaotic. So the United Nations, the African Union, and other partners that are supposed to be brought on deck should be ready to pressurize ELECAM to ensure that all registered Cameroonians on the electoral list enter into possession of their voters' card, and that the polling stations that are in military barracks, those which are in places which are not supposed to be there, because the law says that the polling stations are not supposed to be in places which are not accessible to the public. So these are the things which we ought to be thinking of and working on to ensure that we kick against, so that we will be working to ensure that we lay a foundation of democracy and a better and brighter future for us and for our posterity.
Yes, the Herald Tribune is still telling us on the presidential elections, upcoming elections, that it is very pivotal for Cameroonians. It is a time where Cameroonians are supposed to change the political landscape of the country, because according to the report, the country has lived decades of corruption, of mismanagement, of what have you. So how pivotal is this election going to be?
The election is quite pivotal, Madam, because it is an election that is coming up second of its kind after they broke out of the Anglophone crisis in 2016. And an election that is coming up at a point where Cameroon is plagued with so many crises. We have the food shortage crisis in the northern regions, we have the Boko Haram insurgency, we have the war going on in the northwest and southwest region. President Paul Biya used to say he wants to be remembered of by the one that made Cameroon to live in a stable economic and political environment. Today, that peace is threatened and people are only living in fear. I think Cameroonians want to get themselves rid of fear. They want to get themselves rid of nepotism, tribalism, and other things, issues that have been plaguing the system in place. Don't forget today, even to go in for a public concours, a public competitive entrance, some people wonder if they have to succeed because you need to have a godfather, you need to align, your name must be such which align to a certain geographical and ethnic geography before you ever have the hope of going to succeed. So I think this is regrettable, and we are working. We think that we need to work tremendously to ensure that we bar the road to the system in place.
We bar the road to the system in place, and many people are of the opinion, many Cameroonians are of the opinion that October is pregnant. Some people are nursing fear, others are thinking that things will turn sour, others are seeing an uprising. Do you think that for real October is pregnant? If yes, is a pregnancy promising to be a positive pregnancy or a negative pregnancy? You know, all not all pregnancies are good. At times you can give birth to a child that is suffering from Alzheimer, whereas the child is still in the stomach.
Madam Journalist, I will say that Cameroon at this particular juncture is at the crossroad. But we who are patriotic Cameroonians, we know exactly what elections have always cost other nations, like the case that happened in 2011 in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, which is next door because of election malpractices. We are of the opinion that the stakeholders that are supposed to be involved with the organization of elections, especially the Director General of Elections Cameroon, Eric Sipse, who is giving very deaf ears to the increasing calls of Cameroonians for him to ensure that the list of potential electorate, the national list is available, should do so. Now, those who think, the prophet of doom, who think that